Today we're talking with Dave Narby, independent Libertarian candidate for State Assembly District number 61. Dave and his wife Jennifer are longtime Staten Island residents. They've spent the last 10 years alone in Silver Lake. Dave, hi and welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Our pleasure. What inspired you to get into politics in the first place?
Throughout my life, when I was growing up, I started up naturally on the left side of the spectrum, leaning Democratic and more liberal. And then as I got older, I progressed to becoming more conservative. But I'd always had a strong libertarian bent. My father introduced me to libertarianism actually at the age of 12, and he got involved with the party back in the 70s. And over time, I came to the conclusion that there was really very little difference between the Republicans and the Democrats. They might throw a bone once in a while to their constituency, but they appeared to be working towards the same end, which was the erosion and the eventual removal of all of our civil liberties and rights as are guaranteed in the Constitution. And I just sat back with it, and I'm no longer an independent, I am a libertarian. I stayed out of politics probably for 5 years because I just was so disgusted with the way things were going. And then the straw that broke the camel's back was the bailouts. When that happened, I couldn't believe it. I had been actively trading in the stock market at the time, and that was only supported by 28% of the population. I went ahead and did it anyway. And then Obama continued to do the same destructive policies that Bush did, and I just couldn't take it. And then when my neighbor, Kevin Storberg, told me that he was forming a Libertarian Party on Staten Island, I jumped at the chance, and well, here I am.
You describe yourself as a moderate, centrist libertarian. What exactly does that mean? Tell our viewers that.
Well, the reason I describe myself as that is because that's what the tests tell me I am. There's actually the world's smallest political quiz which you can take, and it will reveal to you, if you're not aware, where your political leanings lie. I recommend everyone try that. But what that means, to break down, if I had to describe my philosophy of government, which is a libertarian philosophy, I do it this way. I don't care where a good idea comes from. If it comes from the left, the right, the center, it doesn't matter. It's a good idea, it's a solution, it should be implemented. I just want it done right the first time, on time, with as little of our money as possible, and then I would like the government to leave us alone. And if you agree with that, you're more libertarian than they want you to think.
A lot of people think liberal when they hear libertarian. What exactly are the general principles of libertarianism?
Well, actually what's known as a classical liberal is probably the closest thing to a libertarian. Classical liberals believed in civil liberties, human rights, but they also believed in free markets. And that's where the schism or the difference between a libertarian and a modern liberal is today. Modern liberals have no faith in the free markets. Libertarians have faith in the free markets. We believe that the marketplace is best left to its own devices without undue interference by government. And as long as government is doing its job of enforcing the laws, all right, the very basic laws to make sure that people hold to their contracts and play fair, that the marketplace works. With respect to conservatism, I'd actually say that probably the closest thing to a libertarian is what's known as a paleo-conservative. So the way I look at it is that libertarian philosophy embraces the best from classical liberalism and also from conservatism. Modern conservatives oftentimes will try to force a really restrictive social agenda, and that's where libertarians differ from them, because we believe in live and let live, that people are best left to live their lives free of the opinions and the influences of others.
Dave, what do you want to accomplish when elected?
I want to wake up the legislature in Albany. They appear to have their head in the sand, and they're hoping and praying that somehow they're going to be rescued by federal government. In the meantime, they're running the state government right off a cliff. I want to use my position to talk about civil liberties. I want to talk about free markets. I want to raise awareness of the abuses of the federal government. I want to raise awareness and talk about implementing states' rights to protect us from the abuses of federal government. I also will be using my position to address 3 main problems Staten Islanders have told me they want addressed, which are jobs, transportation, and education.
What can you do to improve the job situation here on the island?
Firstly, the job situation, it's also a national problem. That's one of the reasons it's so bad on Staten Island. If you look at what the federal government says the employment figures are at, they say it's around 9.5, 9.7%. That's a lie. The unemployment on Staten Island is actually at 25%. 25%. That's a Great Depression level figure.
How do you get that figure?
If you calculate unemployment the way it was done as early as 1980 and include all the people who are out of work and are looking for work or who have been counted as discouraged workers, that's where you get that number. So what can we do about that? Well, immediately what we can do to try to shave a few points off that is to do a roundtable with small and medium-sized businesses and ask them what to get off the books, what regulations and rules are interfering with their ability to hire a couple of extra people. At this point, government is not the answer. This removing government, getting them out of the way, is the answer. And hopefully we can get that number down from 25%, say 22 or 21%.
You know, a lot of mainstream politicians don't talk about charter banks, but I've heard you raise this idea in the past. What are your feelings about that today as you get into this race?
Charter bank's an excellent idea. It's something I support. It's being done, I believe, in North Dakota. What that would allow us to do is to issue our own bonds so that the big banks that have caused this financial crisis will be cut out of that. Would allow us to be able to extend loans and provide financing to small and medium-sized businesses and also provide loans for education.
In the last large-scale economic crisis, and I'm going back to the 1930s now, there was a sense that in the 40s we were able to get out of that post-war due to the manufacturing base that had been created as a result of that wartime effort. I want to ask you if you believe that strong manufacturing base still exists here, and if not, what can we do about our recovery, considering that small business, medium-sized businesses are really the backbone of any kind of economic recovery and or growth?
Regrettably, due to the either corruption or incompetence of the federal government combined with the policies of the Federal Reserve, our manufacturing base has been hollowed out and our jobs have been shipped overseas. What we can do to fix that? Well, we've got to clear the path legislatively. We need to get government out of the way so small and medium-sized businesses can begin to restore our manufacturing base. America can return to what it was before, which was a tremendous exporter of innovative goods and services.
So what about the transportation situation on the island? It seems to be really only getting worse. What can be done to improve the situation?
Transportation issue, especially on the north shore of Staten Island, is a very big deal. The MTA, either through their own incompetence or the incompetence of the city government, has cut the bus lines on the North Shore. They cut the 54, the 52, the 46, the 48. They cut some of the express bus lines. The situation exists now that seniors are going to be getting off at the corner to get back to some of their assisted housing. They're going to have to walk up the street in the wintertime because they've cut these lines. The solution to this is very simple. If the MTA is not going to service us with public transportation, then we need to let ourselves service it. The City Council needs to free up the permits for transportation. If you've got a van and you've got a commercial driver's license and you have insurance, you ought to be able to charge people a couple of bucks to drive them around. We need dollar vans. The MTA is trying to force a monopoly on us, and they should not be allowed to do that.